So recently I discovered an Instagram account with the @OvertimeSammy, and I saw he was making these edits where he took pictures of athletes or music artists and he put them with Pokemon that sort of correspond with them and their values and who they are. And he's mostly done this with NBA players, and I thought the edits were really cool, so I thought why not get football players and do the same thing?
Why not?
So in this video we're going to be doing just that. I've got a lot of ideas for things that we can do. In fact, there's so many ideas I can't fit them into one video. So if you like this video and you want to see more of these, let me know in the comments. So the first player we've got lined up is Mbappe. Now there are a few things we can do for Mbappe. The most obvious one would be his speed. So you could pick a fast Pokemon that complements his speed, for example Deoxys or like Regieleki. But I'm gonna take this a slightly different direction. This is what we're doing. I mean, it makes sense, come on now. Now Squirtle is pretty small, but I don't want to make him too small because I still want him to be part of it. Yeah, like this is cute. Now I actually want to do some different stuff to this. Yeah, don't ask why this is here, but I'm gonna take the headband from this and I want to try and make Squirtle into a Ninja Turtle. If this works, it'll be great. Just select it because I'm not going out and manually doing this. Yeah, it's not bad. Now we reposition it a bit. We have to make it way bigger because Squirtle's eyes are huge. Yeah, it's gonna be something like this. I've made him look like Kenshi from Mortal Kombat. I'll cut out his eyes after, but let's get the back. Yeah, good enough. Cut this out a little bit. Just refine it. Again, this is gonna go behind Squirtle, so it doesn't need to be crazy good. There we go, just like this. To make him even more Ninja Turtle, I do want some swords behind him. So I've just got this PNG right here. I'm gonna flip that wrong way, like this. Nothing too crazy, just so they're visible. Alright, let's fix this headband now, because this is looking terrible. Now we need to find where his eyes are. Now we just go in and wrap it around his eye. Yeah, that's good enough. Right, now we'll blend Squirtle now into the background a little bit, so it doesn't look too out of place. Just a bit of colour matching and shadows here and there. First we'll put a shadow behind the sword, because obviously the sword will be blocked by Squirtle. Just like that. Also by the headband, a little bit. There we go. In fact, I'll just accentuate this a little bit. There we go. Put a camera raw filter on Squirtle because he's a bit vibrant and the rest of the background isn't really. So we'll just kind of blend him in and just very subtly put some shadows on him. If you look at the image here, the main light source is really coming from this side. So I'll try and match that a bit. No, it's basically very similar in the image already, but I'll just try and accentuate it a little bit. Nothing too crazy, just a bit here and there. And bringing back some of the highlights. And just underneath where the headband is sort of touching Squirtle. Very small, very nice. Yeah, this headband is looking very scuffed. But I'm just gonna keep it just for the edit's sake. And here's before, here's after. It just does a little bit of a job of blending it in to the surrounding environment a little bit more. I want to accentuate this floor shadow, so let's do that. Nice flat round brush, low flow, just like this. Because Mbappe's shadow is basically going in this direction as well. Bit like that, that's good. Okay, the bandana is still a bit terrible. I've fixed it a little bit, but I think we can get away with it. Let me just do a slight bit of highlights before we move on to making Mbappe look a bit better. Before, after. Nothing too crazy, but it definitely helps set the scene. Right, we're just going to do a little bit of retouching on Mbappe himself, and then we'll get started with all the overlays and added effects, because I think with OvertimeSammy's edits, it's mostly down to that as well. All the additional glows, filters, effects, colours. Alright, I've just done a really fast retouch speed run, and we're basically done. But now, the thing with all of OvertimeSammy's edits, and the thing I want to do to mine, is mostly the after effects. So all of the overlays, glows, and all of that stuff that goes on top. So for this I'm thinking maybe we do some sort of vintage VHS sort of vibe. Because this is old Mbappe, it's not like Real Madrid Mbappe, this is back at PSG. Oh, and one more thing I've seen in the edits is he sometimes recolors the Pokemon. So I think I might actually recolor Squirtle to be green, to be more like an actual Ninja Turtle. Just like this. I think this is right actually. Yeah, and then we just need to bring back some of the details, like for example his tongue's not going to be purple. So I'll just bring that back like so. And also the eyes. There we go. Now he looks a bit more like a Ninja Turtle. And I actually quite like this variant more than just standard blue Squirtle. Now we just smack a load of these on. Experiment with blend modes. See what works. See if anything works. This looks awful. Right, so I've tried my best. Here's before, here's after. Nothing too crazy. It's not exactly what I had in mind, but we can work with it. Maybe I reduce some of it. It just adds a bit of something rather than having absolutely nothing. A bit of texture is always good. I think we're going to do a camera raw filter first, and then we're going to try and put some glows. Or no, you know what? We're going to make it glow just a little bit. I think a curves layer with screen would help for some just very subtle glows. Just like these, on these brighter areas. Before, after, there we go. A bit more depth. I think we just do a camera raw filter and pray this looks good. As I said, these edits are quite simple already, so it's really just all about making the final image look good. It's mostly done through camera raw filter and all those color adjustments. And this is what we've ended up with. This bandana still looks really scuffed, but I actually need to improve it, but I can't be bothered to improve it. Okay, it's a lot better now. I just realized that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle headbands do not look how they thought I did. I've made it slightly more accurate to how they're meant to look, and added a little RGB sort of chromatic aberration effect as well, just to enhance the whole image and the whole VHS effect that I was trying to go for. And now on to the next one. So this is the next player we're going to be doing. Paulo Dybala, vintage Paulo Dybala from his Juventus days. And this is the Pokemon we're going to be pairing him with, Cinderace. Now if you know Pokemon, you'll be thinking this is a little bit random, but there's actually a backstory behind this. It's a bit personal. But essentially, Sword and Shield came out around the same time as FIFA 20, well a bit later. I didn't actually pick Scorbunny as my starter, I actually picked Grookey, but I really liked Scorbunny and I really liked Cinderace. So I got my friend to trade me his starter so I could breed it and get my own Scorbunny. And I actually nicknamed it Dybala because at the start of FIFA 20, I actually packed a 89 rated gold card Dybala. And I got so happy because packing an 89 rated gold card back in those days was actually still good. Whereas now you get a 94 rated team this season and then you just look at it and it's like, it's alright, could be better. And I also really like Dybala as a player. So I was like, yeah, let me nickname it Dybala, why not? It's literally, by the way, this Pokemon's Pokedex entry, it is known as the Striker Pokemon. And that tells you all you need to know. And its signature attack, which I'll put on the screen now, is called Pyro Ball. And it essentially just gets a rock, turns it into a fireball, and then just absolutely volleys it at the opponent. Hence why this little fireball thing here. Except there's a Pokeball football, which shouldn't really be what it is, but I'm just going to leave it in there for the sake of it. Now, one thing I do want to do is I want to do a little bit of lighting here, because obviously this is fire. This is going to be a pretty good light source for lighting. So this edit is going to be a bit more complicated than the other one, but I can't be bothered to mask out Dybala and get the whole background erased and everything. So I think I'm just going to paint lighting over, but not go too crazy, not like the usual lighting that you see from me. First of all, let's do what we did last time and kind of blend Cinderace a bit more into the scene, as well as put a camera raw filter on the picture of Dybala. There's not too much of a prominent light source here, so I think I'm just going to do some overall shadows. I also want to accentuate the ball a little bit, because it's a bit too visible, so I'm going to put some glows on top of that, just like that. So it doesn't look like a Pokeball. Well, it looks like a Pokeball, but you can't really see the red, so it's still kind of encased in the fireball, which is a bit better for what I want. There's not really much of a floor shadow underneath the Dybala's foot here, so I'm going to reduce Cinderace's just a bit. But I still want it to be there because it needs to look like he's obviously slightly in the grass. Actually, good idea. I'll use a grass brush and I'll mask the foot so it looks like he's a bit more in the grass. If I can find my grass brush. It's the only one I can find. Just a little bit here. Just put his foot in the grass. There we go. Now it looks like his foot is a bit more in the grass, which just helps with blending it. Here's before, here's after. Just helps to darken this side because obviously the light is going to be from here. Next I'm going to retouch Dybala a little bit. and just get him ready for the lighting that's going to happen. Also, I'm going to darken Cinderace entirely, and I'm also going to darken the whole of this background as well, just so this orange light stands out a little bit more. Alright, so I've now retouched Dabala, and I've put in some very subtle shadows just to match the shadows that Cinderace had on it. And now I'm going to try to do a little bit of lighting, nothing too mental, just here and there from where the light would hit onto Dabala here, from the light source. Because as I said, I can't be bothered to mask him out and make everything crazy. Because these edits are fairly simple, I just want to take it up a little bit of a notch. Now we got our hue saturation layer, and copy them onto Cinderace as well. I think I'm going to do highlights on Cinderace first because I think it's easier. So let's go do that. I mean, if you've seen any of my other videos by now, you know how I paint highlights. I explained it in the KDB Napoli kit swap. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch that, and you can see me painting highlights. It doesn't really show the full process, but it's at least something, and you get to see the whole thing start to finish. Because it's furry here, I'm just using light strokes just like this to try and replicate the fur. And of course, because the light source is sort of underneath, the lighting is going to be hitting these parts. So for example, the bottom of Cinderace's head, the bottom of these little ears. So with lighting, it's just a lot of attention to detail and knowing how light works and where light will hit, depending on where it's positioned. And even though it's not directly hitting some areas, it's a big ball of fire at the end of the day. So it's going to like spread to other areas, and it will just create this subtle glow, because fire is very bright after all. So even in these areas, if they're not directly affected, they'll still have some sort of glow from the fire. Here's before, here is after. Now I have to do the same thing to Dabala. In this instance, there's not too much that's going to be affected, mainly the legs and a lot of like the shirt creases here, and maybe the underside of his neck and a little bit of the arms here. The ball is a lot further from Dabala than it is from Cinderace, luckily, so we can get away with not doing too much, but I still want to make it look half decent. Luckily, it's also a big ball of fire that's glowing, so the lighting doesn't need to be too detailed, because a lot of it is just a big massive blob, and there's a lot of glow emanating from this fireball, so there's a lot of room to just kind of smack on light, because that's usually how it would be. Like as you can see here, I'm literally painting light absolutely everywhere on these shorts, because the light is projecting a lot. Again, since the light source is all the way down here, the brightest highlights we're going to see are going to be closer to this sort of area. So as you go further up, the highlights are going to become less and less intense. Hence why there's not too much on this area of his face. I'm going to make everything a bit darker because it still feels like too light, and I still want the highlights to stand out. There we go, that's a bit better. Now we're just going to go with a soft round brush, and we're just going to paint a bit of like overall highlights, because the light is emanating quite a lot. So there's still detail, but it's not like, it's still fairly realistic in terms of how light would glow and project absolutely everywhere. And I think we're pretty much done. I don't want to go too crazy detailed and everything with this lighting. It's just meant to be a quick, simple edit. So we'll get a few glows going and a camera raw filter, and we should be good. Just a bit of outer glow on the areas where the light hits the most. And there we go, that is the second edit done. Again, I like how this one turned out. I think the lighting on Dabala could have been better, but I couldn't be bothered to mask it out and do literally everything. But in terms of sticking to the edit style, I think I've done a good job. The highlights on Cinderace actually look quite nice. I'm very happy with those. And I think the little added touches like the sparks and the reflection of the light on the ground also help to add a bit more realism to the scene. But yeah, let me know which one of the two you preferred, whether you like them or not. And also let me know whether this is a series that you'd like to see, because I have a lot of ideas. It's always great to combine two of my favourite things in the world, being Pokemon and football. And if you have any suggestions for Pokemon and player pairings that you want to see, let me know in the comments. If they're good enough, I might do some of them. But yeah, as I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that. And I'll see you in the next one.